The upcoming legislative session is expected to be much different as the DFL party no longer has full control of state government. It's why local state Senator John Hoffman says this year will be about finding innovative solutions. He recently sat down with Shannon Sladden for today's Newsmakers.
Do you know, I can't wait to get back into that conversation because we left the fire department bonding project as well as community activity center project kind of sitting out there, and then there were some tax TIF provisions that really the city needs. So those are priorities for me, absolutely. And we'll see how it flushes out. If we're going to have bonding, how much is that? We're still a very high appropriated bonded state, so it would make sense to do that, especially on a lot of infrastructure stuff that are needed out there.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll be watching that. Also, your committee work. What committees are you going to be serving on, and what are you excited to tackle?
So I'm still the chair of Human Services, Policy, and Finance, and then they did the same thing over in the House. Now they're co-chairs, and the two co-chairs, Mahmoud Noor, of course, was the chair last year, and then Joe Schumacher, who's a Republican co-chair. Those two in the House, they're absolutely wonks when it comes to policy and it comes to finance discussions. I can't wait to work with those two because I think it's going to be a discussion based upon need and not anything else. It's kind of like do you remember Jim Ramstad used to say, he represented us for years, and he'd say, leave your ego in the hallway, talk about the needs, focus on what's important, and that's what I think is going to happen within the Human Services bucket this year within those two. The thing that concerns me is a couple things. The finance side of it, medical assistance spend down still needs to be eliminated. It's about a $600 million price tag. The medical assistance for employed people with disabilities, we took care of the asset limitation side of it. Now we need to take care of the premium side of it because it's like, wait, you want me to work, yet if I go to work now it's going to be, I'm being penalized because I'm working too much, so why should I work when I can still, it's like, no, the incentive piece is wrong. We need to change that. Okay. And so that's important. All in all, the Human Services asks that I'm going to have to balance the structural problem is $1 billion. And of course, there's only $611 million, of which I said I should get 23% of that. So we'll have to figure out, innovative ways. So if people have other innovative ways how we can do human services, which is a deep need in Minnesota, with our 65 and older population actually higher than our K-12 education population, the needs continue on and continue on, which brings up another concern. If the incoming administration federally decides to block grant, if anybody hears the word block grant out there from the feds talking to the state, put up a big brick wall and say, nope, it's not going to work, because it won't work, because it caps the amount of funding that you do a program. So if our elderly population continues growing, which we know it's going to do, we're going to be capitated on the rates. And you say, okay, hospitalization and nursing homes are Medicaid mandated services each state must have in play. Well, if a nursing home says, I can't do this because my bank isn't allowing me to do this, hence I don't have any money in the bank to do this, then they shut their doors. Guess who has to pick over that nursing home?
I'm sure we will.
Correct. We do as taxpayers in the state of Minnesota. And so that's a concern for me. So it's going to be very watching what's happening. And so if anybody out there hears the word block grant and human services, put up that brick wall and say, no, not for Minnesota. It doesn't work well. Does that make sense?
All right, it does. A lot to talk about, and we don't have very long to tackle everything, but thank you for what you do. Thank you for stopping by, Senator John Hoffman. Good to see you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Find more local news stories at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.